Welcome everyone to this week's video. Today we are on Herp Monday number 19 and we have a very interesting guy for you today. This is a frog and it is really cool and I hope you enjoy this video. Today we are talking about the Wallace's flying frog. Yeah, Wallace's flying frog. Wallace flying frog, or scientific name Rhacophorus nigropalmatus. Again, that is Rhacophorus nigropalmatus. One thing that I've talked about on stream is the fact that scientific names are descriptive of the animal. So nigropalmatus, as you can see, it looks like it has black in its palm. So just keep that in mind when you're thinking of these. So Wallace's flying frog, or it is part of the family Rhacophoridae. These are the shrub and moss frogs, and they are native to Asian and African regions, primarily the rainforests, but this is a relatively large group of frogs, and they're not that uncommon. Wallace's flying frog is found at least from the Malaysian peninsula to Indonesia. It can be found in Sumatra. It's pretty common throughout this deal. I mean, it's pretty widespread. This is actually a relatively large frog. They can get up to 80, somewhere between 80 and 100 millimeters, which on the larger end, that's about 4 inches. So think about the size of a teacup. That's a relatively large frog. Most frogs are actually significantly smaller. So, keep that in mind. Males are smaller than females, as is very common in as frogs, as far as reptilians and reptiles and amphibians go. They do have very large eardrums. And they have very large eyes as well, and that's pretty common among tree frogs. They use their sight searching for prey. Something interesting about these is these do actually have horizontal pupils. Not vertical pupils. They have very long limbs as well. That's relatively common among tree frogs as well. The fingers and toes, as you can see here, are basically webbed the entire way to the tip. So keep that in mind. We talked about flying frog. And there's also a fringe of skin stretching that's between the limbs. Now, as you can imagine, flying frog, I thought this would be the interesting fact, but it's kind of hard to get away from it. These things can parachute. These things glide. Think of those flying squirrels. They glide from the forest. They can glide all the way from the tops of the trees to the forest floor. They'll do it going from tree to tree. Really interesting frog. They do have pretty striking colors, as you can see in this picture. The back is going to be a shiny green, where the belly is going to be more of a white to pale yellow. The upper side of the inner toes, as you can see right here, they're also going to be very strikingly yellow, along with the very outer parts of the fringe, and then down the side as well. Whereas the inner parts of the webbings, and there's a spot on each side that is going to be jet black. So absolutely jet black. Think again, nigropalmatus, black palms. Now these will descend from the trees. Usually they will only descend to mate or lay eggs, but they will run from predators as well. As we talked about, these things can leap and parachute from tree to tree. That's their gig, I guess you could say. When threatened, they will leap from a branch and splay their feet. And good thing we have pictures. So you can see here, they will jump out and they'll just spread their fingers and their toes, and that all that skin will just catch air and allowing them to really slow their fall, doing a gliding. And they can do this a very far away. They can sometimes go over 40 feet or over 50 feet, so about 15 meters at a time. That's just not vertical movement. They can actually go 50 feet or 15 meters away. So they can go to another tree about 15 meters away, and they can go all the way down. As you saw, they also have oversized toe pads. Those oversized toe pads are really what help them to land softly and stick to the tree trunks. Tree frogs are going to have these really sticky toe pads. That's how they are able to cling on the bottom side of leaves and branches and things like that. They're really, really sticky. These do primarily eat insects, basically kind of what you would think. However, they have been known to eat other toads and some small birds. It'd have to be in a very small bird, but they have been known to eat those extremely small birds. They are not in trouble right now, but they could be in the future. And one of the reasons why, there's some debate going on whether that their breeding might be endangered. There's also your common concerns of deforestation, urbanization, and things like that. But the Wallace's flying frogs seem to be very partial to breeding and laying eggs in the wallowing holes of the nearly extinct Asian rhinoceros. So there's some debate that as the Asian rhinoceros numbers goes down, these numbers might go down as well, because they particularly like to be in the breed in those wallowing holes of those. Now, they've been known to do it in pigs and things like that, but you know, there's just some debate going. Now, as far as their the interesting fact, and this is going to be a relatively short video today, but as far as sort of the interesting fact that we like to end these, and that would have to be how they nest after they reproduce. The females will produce a fluid that they beat into a foam with their hind limbs. And then they lay those eggs in the foam. And that is what is called, and it's not necessarily that uncommon, but that's called a bubble nest. So they make a very, very foamy liquid that they will lay their eggs in that bubbles, that foam, I guess you could say. And that bubble nest, that foamy egg mass, is not on the ground or in that water that they're doing. What they do is they attach that nest to branches or leaves that are hanging over water. And then as the tadpoles hatch, they fall from that nest into the water. And the reason for this is this keeps the predation on the eggs very low. Many things in the wild love to eat frog eggs, reptile eggs, amphibian eggs. They love to eat eggs. They're very nutritious. They're very easily digestible. They're not going to run away from you. They're not going to fight back. So a lot of things, if they can get to frog eggs, they're going to do what they can to eat it. And so that bubble nest will keep them above, away from other predators. And then as they fall, now they're tadpoles and they have a chance to swim away. Now, things are still going to want to eat tadpoles, don't get me wrong, and there's still probably high predation rate on the tadpoles, but there's no longer that predation rate on the eggs. And normally what happens on your traditional sort of frog that lay it in a slow moving water and the tadpoles hatch, normally the eggs get heavily predated on, so that's why frogs lay a lot of eggs. And then the tadpoles, all the tadpoles that hatch, there's a lot of tadpoles in there because it is expected that you're going to lose some of these tadpoles to predation. Let them grow up. As they get bigger, they're harder to eat, they can swim better, they can swim faster. This sort of takes out a predation step. So that's probably one of the most interesting things about this. It's actually not that uncommon of a thing, but it is probably one of the more lesser known facts about the frog world. Now, of course, obviously, the parachuting is definitely cool. It was really hard, but it was hard to end the video on the interesting fact of the fact that these parachute themselves to the floor. And looking at the videos, they do parachute very well. It's incredible how much they slow their fall buy this webbing in your toe. Unfortunately, I could not find any sort of indication that these might be sold on the open market for pets or anything. Some people said they have them as pets, some people say you can get them. So I couldn't find a price point for these to be into if you want to keep them. I imagine if they're like other tree frogs, they're probably not that difficult to keep, but you probably want to make sure that you give them a good thing. Now there are other flying frogs that are, quote flying frogs that are for sale, like the Costa Rican flying frog. I don't know too much about those, but who knows, we might do a video on it. But thank you guys so much for coming in. I really appreciate it, and I hope to see you again. If I don't, please be safe. Have a great day. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. If you do, I would really appreciate it. Once again, take care of yourselves, take care of your loved ones,